So, what is life like as a foreigner in Thailand? Down to the food, the culture, the environment, the geography, it's very different. And while there's less of a huge gap in Thailand, like in terms of where you live, I'll tell you something. Life in Thailand is nothing, you cannot compare it to any other place in the world. It's its own thing. And there's plenty of things to complain about. It's not perfect. It's not a paradise, but I've seen a lot of people move to other countries after living abroad for a long time and end up moving back here. And there is a reason why that is the case. There's a reason why people come here and never want to leave. In my opinion, Thailand is the best place in the world to live. I've lived in a lot of different countries. I've traveled the world. And while I love my country, I miss my family. I miss my friends back in the States. I really love to live in Thailand. And it's not just because things are inexpensive. It's not because I like to go to the bars. It's not because I'm a sex tourist. It's not because I'm a weirdo. And it's not because I'm escaping something. I love to live in Thailand because, honestly speaking, I've never felt more free in my life. I am more free in Thailand than I am in the US. A lot of Americans don't realize how much of the US is sort of turning into a police state or a place where it's almost impossible to live without anxiety. And the main thing that I want to cover here is the level of anxiety and stress that you have to live with just to make it in America is unlike anywhere else in the world. In Europe, in Spain, in South America, they have ways to check being overworked, ways to combat the stress levels. You know, there's almost nowhere else in the world that pushes people to just work all the time like America. And if you live in a major city in the US, you'll know that it's unsafe. It's dangerous. And I didn't realize that was abnormal until I traveled the world. Growing up in Philadelphia, I thought this is just life. And that happens to a lot of people. You think where you grow up, this is normal. If you grew up in an abusive family, you think that that's normal because that's your norm until you compare with other people's families. I grew up my whole life feeling just a distant sense of unsafety because violence, it's always looming. Things can change quickly, block to block, and there's people around that are willing to rob you, hurt you for what you have in your pocket. Predatory behavior, unlike anywhere else. And when I started traveling abroad, I started to notice, like, even in countries that are extremely poor, like Cambodia, Laos, there's a safety, there's a stability there. And it's not because the police departments are incredibly corrupt in these countries. It's because of the people. There's an unwritten law. There's an unwritten sense of morality covering the most basic protections for people, which is like, don't rob, don't kill, at least to your face. And that may seem minute to some people, but in fact, that means a lot. And when you're coming from a place like America, you start to realize that these unwritten social contracts that a lot of countries have, whether it's due to the religion, Buddhism, or just the culture of peace, a culture of community, that means a lot. And it contributes to an overall sense of well-being and safety. So that's the main thing, safety and freedom. I feel free here. I feel a sense of purpose that I'm free to explore my soul, challenge myself in ways that I'm not able to in my own comfort zone. And again, it really depends on what you want from life, because for me, I don't need much. I'm not looking to be rich. I'm not looking for like fame and fortune, but I'm searching for enlightenment. I want to be completely peaceful. And I know the conditions need to be ready for me. They need to be okay enough to allow me to do that. So I've always been challenging myself. I've done a little bit of everything. As you see in the intro video, I've been here on a Muay Thai visa. I've been a monk twice. I've been a teacher. I've been just a traveler. And I've been doing this for years all around the world. So whenever I feel boxed in, I completely change it up. I try something else. I went from a monk to Muay Thai, and I almost took a fight. But then I realized my trainer was trying to convince me to take a fight, to be a fighter. And I just didn't see the point of signing up to hurt someone and to be hurt. It's not me. It's not my thing. But I did the entire thing just to challenge myself. And as I live here and experience more and get more settled in myself, I understand that there's no such thing as home. Home is where your heart is. And my heart is all over the world at this point. The saddest thing about living abroad for long periods is missing your family. I love my family so much. We have a very good relationship, very close with them, and I want to be close to them. So last time I went home, you know, I didn't tell my parents this, but when I saw them in the airport, I had so many tears come up because I missed them so much. Not one drop of tear could come out because I had been holding them for so long. And when I left, I was just crying in the airport because I realized how much I missed them. That's the hardest part. And also, my best friends are back in the US, the kind of friends that understand me and are there for me. So that's the hardest part. But I feel that having a base in Thailand is very important. And this brings me to the last point. And this is very, very important that everyone listens to this. There is a perception about Thailand and about Thai women and about the sex trade that is unfair. Because of what people see on the news, there's a reputation for Thailand being this like whorehouse. And while it is true that there are a lot of prostitutes, I think the difference is that in Thailand, it's just out in the open. There's a radical acceptance for people's choices and ways of life, just like there's a radical acceptance of transgenderism here. In Thailand, it's not a big issue. It's not like the States where this is like a new phenomenon and everyone wants to like scream about it. Here, transgenders have been around for hundreds, thousands of years. It's part of the culture. It's even considered cool by mainstream culture, so it's not a big deal. So that's an example of how tolerant Thai society is in terms of gender and sexuality. So prostitution, while it's not celebrated, it's not necessarily frowned upon. It's just normal. That's something that is possible. And in the US, I researched this. There's much more prostitution in America than in Thailand, but it's just all underground. So you don't see it, you don't hear about it. Here it's out in the open. And Thailand has been negatively portrayed in this light after the Vietnam War in an unfair manner. With that being said, there are a lot of negative, disgusting foreigners that do end up here or do come here because of this reputation. Thai people know it and everyone knows it. And I don't judge people for doing what they do, but I don't like disgusting people. It's unfair to judge an entire place based on those people. And a lot of those very same people will contribute to this negative stereotype because they'll come to Thailand and they'll only go to bars where there's prostitutes. And their entire perception of Thai women is based on prostitutes. If you go to a bar and marry a prostitute, what do you expect? She's going to be a great wife? So when it comes to dating and building a family here, I would argue to have a good family, to have a good relationship where you communicate and understand each other and have true intimacy, all of the things that make a good relationship, it's harder in Thailand because of language barriers and culture. And people say, oh, it's easy to find a girl there. It's easy to find a prostitute, but it's not easy to find a quality person. Always be wary of a woman who says they don't like Thai men. You have to think, why would they say that? Now, they're undesired by Thai men, and that should be the red flag. Thai men are awesome. They're cool. They have swagger. They have style. They're handsome. So for a woman in her own country to say they don't like Thai men, that's a huge red flag. My point is, you have to respect people. If you're a piece of shit in your own country, if you're a loser there, you're going to be a loser here. And the biggest mistake foreigners make is thinking that Thai people are stupid. The smart people, the ones at the top of society, they're not stupid. They're smarter than most of us. And they understand exactly who we are. They're internationally minded. So you're not tricking anyone at the end of the day. You're not fooling anyone. You're not a rock star. In my opinion, to have the life that I'm talking about where you feel free and to be happy here, you need family, you need roots, you need someone you trust. And there's nothing worse than being in a relationship with someone that makes you miserable, who's using you, who's basically extorting you for everything you have, and hates you. Nobody wants to be with someone who hates you. So on all sides, treat people with respect. Don't use people. Don't dehumanize people. Don't treat people like they owe you something because they're from another country. I don't owe you anything. I didn't hurt you. And don't perceive me as an ATM machine. Even if I have a lot of money, it's not yours. And don't come here and use people and think you're superior to people and objectify someone, make them your wife, and then expect it to be good and then associate that with the whole country. That's not fair too. So just like anything, we need to have a balanced view, a fair perception. And I'm saying all this from a lot of experience. So people have an idea before they come here, and for people who living here, both Thai and foreigners. Like, at the end of the day, we are in someone else's country, and we have rights. We deserve respect, but you got to give respect to get it. And for people who aren't as friendly or open to foreigners, don't judge all of us based on a few bad eggs, because there's a lot of us who are pure in spirit and who have positive things to contribute to your society. And we shouldn't all be judged based on others. Give us a chance. Sometimes I feel myself having to prove tirelessly that I'm not a piece of shit. I'm a good person. I have a good family, just like you, maybe better than you. And yeah, it is what it is. And on this channel, what I'm going to start to do is interview foreigners and Thai people to show you another side, to show you the interesting people that aren't necessarily fitting the mold of what you perceive or what you think. Because when I went back home, I see it in people's eyes. I can tell that there's a perception about Thailand or foreigners here that isn't necessarily true. There's a lot of good people here. There's a lot of good foreigners here. There's a lot of interesting people that have come here for the right reasons. And I want to show people. So I'm going to start doing some interviews here. I have a live studio downstairs. I can set up a kind of podcast atmosphere and show you, share people's stories about why they came here, what life is like, and their comparison to their home countries. The last thing I'll say is, if you want to live in Thailand, understand that it's a beautiful place. It's an amazing country with amazing people. There's a culture that you cannot compare with anywhere else that runs back thousands of years with zero infiltration of other cultures. It's the only country in Southeast Asia that hasn't been colonized. So imagine the culture is that it hasn't been affected by Western civilization. But if you come here looking for trouble, you're going to find it. And believe me, it's going to be worse than anywhere you can imagine. If you end up in a Thai prison here, say goodnight. The conditions, as I've heard, are unimaginable. And you don't want to get in trouble here. It's very dangerous. And like anywhere, if you go down the wrong path, you're going to get into trouble. Do not get involved with drugs. Do not get involved with illegal things. Don't hurt people. Treat people with respect. And if you walk around with a curiosity and an open-mindedness and light around you, people are going to love you. And the right people are going to be around